So let's talk about what's the roadmap to RoboContact, because I'd like to know, either in the group if you're catching this on the replay, or if you guys are here on the live, let me know in the chat if you guys are actively using RoboContact, like if you guys are using it consistently, and or not. And if not, that's okay. I think that I have a feeling that I'm not doing a good enough job helping people to get set up. So hopefully, not hopefully, I know by the end of this video, you'll know, okay, you know what? It's much simpler than I thought it would be. And so you'll be able to go in, get set up, get started, and start running campaigns like today, like right after this training. You'll be able to start going out there and get started, right? All right, so the very first thing that you gotta do is, when getting in here, okay, is let's go in here and let's update your settings. All right, so you probably want to go through like the normal things. Okay, you probably want to go through the normal things, update your password, stuff like that, all of those things. But there's two things that you probably want to get set up at the very beginning before you do anything else. The first thing is updating your Google API, and the second is grabbing your Hunter API. Okay, and we'll cover the Hunter API in a second, but if you guys want to learn how to grab your Google API, it's really simple. Okay, there's actually a video right in here. Go and watch it. The wonderful Ankita actually created an amazing video that walks you through all these things. And if you guys have any questions, then ask them in the support in the group, or ask for help, or send them a message here. But this is the first thing that you want to do, and it is a step-by-step process. So just watch this video. I'm not going to take the time to do that here because they've already done that. So that's step number one. Second thing we'll talk about is, let's talk about this Hunter.io API. So what I've done here is I've gone in and I've just created an account. All right, I've created an account on my Hunter.io, and I created a free plan. I get 100 requests. Okay, I get 100 requests every month for free. But then if I go down here, what you'll see is I have my API. And I've got my API right there, so I'm going to grab that, I'll copy it, and then what I'll need to do is I'll just go into my RoboContact settings, and then I'll go ahead and I'll grab that and I'll drop that into my Hunter API. And I've got that and I'm ready to go. Now, what I also could do is I also could get set up, I could set up my Zapier, okay? So this is also, just while we're here, a good thing to talk about. If you guys want to integrate it with Zapier, if you guys want to take your RoboContact leads and drop them into text in bulk, or vice versa, you want to take your ClickFunnels leads or your Facebook lead form leads and you want to drop them into RoboContact, well, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and click this link. It'll actually take you to an invite page, okay? I've already been invited, so that's why it's there. And then what you'll do is you'll connect it, and it'll ask you to connect your stuff. When you do that, you'll create a token. Okay, so you'll just name it right here, and so we can just name it training, and it'll create a separate token. You'll drop that right there in Zapier, and then you'll be able to use Zapier with RoboContact as well. All this other stuff should be pretty good. So that's the first thing I would say. That's kind of like I don't know, whatever kind of step. Let's call that step, A, is to set up your, get your settings. Now, the first thing that you want to get set up though is you want to get your profile set up. Okay, so over here on the left is your profiles, and I'd actually like to, whatever. We're just gonna keep this running in one video. So here's your profiles, okay? Now, what you're gonna wanna understand is that when you create your campaigns, when you run your searches, you have the option of sending an email automatically to all of the emails that it finds on the website. And what it's gonna do is on the bottom of that email, it's actually going to have like a signature, basically. And so that's what you're gonna be creating here, is on the bottom of these emails, you're gonna wanna have a signature. So go ahead and plug in your name, your information, things like that. And what it's gonna, this is kind of, at least in the US, legally you need this information when you're sending emails like this. And so this is gonna be in the signature on the bottom of your email, okay? So that's the first thing you're going to do, is you're going to want to update and create your profiles. The second thing that you can do, okay, is the second thing you need to do is you need to actually add on your emails. So what you're going to do is you're going to click over here on the right, email configuration, and here's where you'll add in your Gmail account. And right here, this is what I would recommend, is just creating a G Suite account. And so my G Suite account right here is hector@millskills.co. Okay. What did let's see, what's my password? All right. Let's save. Let's accept it and allow it to, and boom. Okay. So now we're connected. So that is that simple. If you want, if you're using others, email providers, there's this SMTP setup, which is way more complicated, but there is ways to do that, and there's also training on here as well, so you can learn how to do all that. So that's what you also want to do. Once you get your profile created, you want to make sure that you have an email set up, and what I would encourage you to do is to not use, right there I connected it to my main one, I would encourage you to not connect it to your main G Suite account. I would create a separate user and a separate subdomain and run it from that one, run it from that email address, not your main one. Okay, the second thing that we can do, all right, is we can actually create what we call profile groups. And what's going to happen is that we have the opportunity to either round robin or randomize or distribute, however you want to think about it, or however best plays into your strategy. But what you want to know is that you do not want to send a ton of emails from one email address all at the same time that are all really similar. And so you want to create as much diversity as possible, and these profile groups are going to allow that. And so I can create as many profiles as I want, and then I can actually add them into my profile groups. And what it'll do is if I have one for Hector Santiesteban, another for Hector 2, and then another for Hector 3, well, I can actually have and set all those in a group. And when I choose my email group, or when I choose my profile group a little bit later in my campaign, one will be sent out to Hector Santiesteban, one will be sent out to Hector 2, one will be sent out to Hector 3, and it'll actually switch and rotate through them so that your one account does not get bombarded, right? So these profile groups are really, really helpful, and I would encourage you, the more that you are going to do, right? I would think about, you probably don't want to send out more than 50 emails or messages per day per account, frankly. You know, anything more than that is going to just get caught in the spam. So you either want to make sure that you are doing it consistently enough. You just have one account. Okay, that's now 350 messages every day, every week. You got to, you know, you're going to have to just do it consistently. Or if you want to scale that, then you up the number of users to make sure that you stay under that number. And, you know, you could probably go a little bit higher, but I don't know that I would recommend it, because very easily your email could get blacklisted and put on, you know, just a blacklist, and it won't show up in any of the inboxes, and that, you know, defeats the purpose. So that is huge. Okay, so after our profiles, all right, after we got our profile set up, the next thing that we want to set up is we want to go through and we want to set up our email messages, okay? So similarly, we have our email groups, right? And we also have our email templates. So what I probably would encourage you to do is to go in and create an email template first. So let's just call this Accelerator Training. I'm going to put that, and this is actually just going to be a template that I can grab from all my other email messages. Now, a couple of things that you're going to want to notice. This email name is really just for you, okay? They're not going to be able to see it. That's just really so that you can know what the email is. The subject line is obviously the subject, and then these message tokens are the information that it is grabbing from the search. And so you can include the business name, you can include the city, the website, the phone number. You're gonna wanna make sure that you include things that you know you're gonna have, right? So you might not have their Instagram address all the time. You might not have their Google address, or you might not have their phone number all the time. But generally, you're probably gonna have their business name. You'll obviously have their website, and you will have their city, because that's what it's searching. So you just kind of want to keep in mind that those are the merge tags that you can actually use here in your content, okay? I would encourage you to use as little, extra markup as possible. I would really encourage you to limit the links as much as possible. Just because, once again, when we're sending in mass, we're really our biggest enemy or our biggest opponent, if you will, is the spam filter. The number one reason why your email campaigns will or will not work is the spam filter. And so if you want it to work, you've got to play to the spam filter, and that's why that's why we're talking about that. Now, you'll see down here, I have add follow-up. So what I can actually do is I can actually add an automated follow-up message so that I can say, you know what, if they're still in the system one day after, send them this message. And I can choose all the way up to 30 days later in order to delay that next message. And remember, we can actually go through and manually take these people out. You can trigger in Zapier to take them out. But you actually do have the ability to be able to, manually intervene if you want to outside of this automated delay. So once you get your email groups set up, you're now ready to obviously start sending out email campaigns. But there's one other thing that you probably want to create or you want to get set up as well, and that's your contact us messages. So your contact us messages are the messages that they are going to fill, or basically what they're going to fill out the forms with. And similar to emails, right? You're going to go in and you can create, different groups, and you can create different message groups. Let's just jump in right here, and I'll add a new message. And similarly, you'll have a message name that you can identify to yourself. And what it's going to do is, the way that these contact forms work is they actually they're connected oftentimes to an email, right? Some sort of email address, for that business. And that's why it needs the first name. That's why it needs the last name. That's why it needs the business, the phone number, because sometimes those forms ask for that information, and so it has to fill out that info for them. And so this same thing, right? You can include, a little more links, right? You can include things like a link to your demo bot, or you can include links to your landing page, or links to your Calendly, or things like that, because one thing that you do know about the contact forms is that you're not playing against the spam filter, right? You're almost guaranteed to get in because it's going through this separate, this separate system, separate process. Okay, so we've got our settings set up. We set up our profiles. We set up our emails. We set up our contact us messages. We're now ready to go out there, and we're ready to run our campaigns. So when we run our campaigns, what you can see is you just click campaigns, and you can name it whatever you want. Or what you can actually do is you can actually upload a series of websites, right? You can actually upload a series of websites here into RoboContact, and RoboContact will go through and search those websites for the information, right? However, the easiest thing for us is we probably don't have those leads. So here in city, you'll put in your city, and remember, after your Google API is in, it should give you an auto suggest. Okay, you want to make sure you use the auto suggest. Your keywords, remember, you want to go in and you want to look in on Google Maps, and you want to actually find out what are people, what are they actually calling themselves, right? So like this right here, let's say I'm targeting gyms. Okay, it says gym, so I will put in gym, right? Like you want to make sure that you are actually writing in what they have on Google Maps. And then you'll see here's where that other stuff comes into play. Here's where I choose my email message group. Here's where I choose my contact message group. Here's where I choose my profile group, okay? I wouldn't worry about the email filters until you've been using RoboContact quite a bit. And then you can choose when to scrape the data, while running the search or while processing the campaign. So if you just want to grab the information, I would just run the search. And then you can say where you want to find the emails. If you want to get it from the website, do you also want to search hunter.io, or do you want to do both, right? And then how do you want to contact them, okay? So it says only send emails to verified email addresses. So one thing that, once again, we're playing against the spam filter, one thing that really does help is verifying the email addresses. So Hunter will actually verify them to make sure that they're a proper email address, so that it doesn't come back as like a bad or a wrong email address. And that will really help your deliverability as well. So you could actually choose to do that as well. And let's see, I'm going to submit contact form only. And then you can also run immediately after search. You can, I wouldn't choose to play with these unless you really know what you're doing. You can send a Zapier. Obviously, you can send all that info. If you run immediately after search, this means that you're going to process the campaign right away, as opposed to actually going through and choosing which websites that you want to process. You can remove your address, and you can also remove the unsubscribe link if you want to be dangerous. Those are just options because we like to live in a free world. So those, that's really what you need to do. And then once you run your campaign, all those campaigns will show up here in your campaign section where you can click the view button, and then you'll be able to see all of the details, okay? And then you can also see your campaign logs, where this will give you a general overview of how many emails you're sending, how many forms are being submitted, and this will give you just kind of an overall of the stats, so you can know what's actually happening on these particular campaigns. Now, all of them, they do go into your contacts, so you can see them here. You can search for them. You can export them right in here from your contacts, and then also looks like you can run tests. I actually have never even. I didn't know that. You can run a campaign run. That's cool. So you can test a particular website. You can create multiple users, which is really, really cool. So you can round robin to people. And then obviously there's a bunch of training videos that are in here. So I would encourage you to go through and watch these as well. So that is RoboContact, okay? And that is, essentially what you need to get set up in order to get started.